Trey Gowdy is a close friend of Senator Scott. They literally wrote a book together about unifying the political divide, and he joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. Great to have you with us tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
you. When you listen to that intro and, this idea that anyone who wears a Make America Great hat is basically, running into the same kind of buzzsaw that happened in your state over the Confederate flag, for example, and that the president is seen by Democratic candidates as a racist and called that on a daily basis.
I'm just stunned that folks can look into other people's hearts. I've never tried to do it. I don't assign motives to people. I like Juan Williams, but he just used the phrase war on civil rights. That is incredibly charged language, particularly if you're a person of color and you hear that a party has a war on civil rights. You mentioned Tim Scott and his reference to unemployment and underemployment being down. He's also the author of something called Opportunity Zones. It was Republicans who passed criminal justice reform, Republican House, Republican Senate, signed by a Republican. So Timmy's exactly right. We need to talk about policy. The rhetoric coming from some Republicans is indefensible. It should be categorically rejected. But when I look at the Republican Party, I see Tim Scott and I see Elise Stefanik. I don't see Steve King.
Well, when you look at, you talk about looking into someone's heart. I was going through some of the notes from when I talked to Senator Scott, and he essentially, he was asked about Jeff Sessions and why he didn't come out and condemn him more forcefully over the issue of separation of families and all that. He said, because I took the time to get to know him, and I don't believe that what is being said about him is accurate.
I was with Tim. Tim told then Senator Sessions, I'm not going to vote for you unless you come to Charleston. I was at the table. There were ministers of color. There were law enforcement officers of color. And Tim was not going to support him until he knew in his well of souls that this is somebody who understands the plight, or at least makes the effort to understand the plight of black and brown people. So that is not rhetoric from Tim Scott. He actually did it. I was at the table. This is what Republicans, I think, need to come to grips with. And this is advice that I got from a Democrat.
Yeah.
Luis Gutierrez is who told me this. People will vote for you if they don't like you. They'll never vote for you if they think you don't like them. So the policies, the Tim Scotts, the Elise Stefaniks, the new generation of Republicans, they're doing great. But we have to be very mindful of the rhetoric that we use and the rhetoric that we condone on the Republican side, or we will continue to struggle in the communities of color in this country electorally.
What do you see when you look into the eyes of the boy from Covington High School and the Native American elder?
I see what happens when the media decides to make something viral. They could have picked a lot of things that happened over this weekend, including lots of examples of my fellow citizens being kind and generous and considerate to one another. That just doesn't go viral. It doesn't make the news. I don't know either of the people in this video. I honestly, because I don't know them, I could care less what they think about almost any issue that impacts our country. So at least take the time to get to know someone before you assign motives or assign what is in their heart. I just think it's a sad reflection on where we are politically and media-wise that something like this would dominate the news cycle and not examples of my fellow citizens being considerate and kind to one another, because that far outpaces anything like what was represented in that video.